sometimes we don't just take a step back and look at what we've got to work with here before we hand out 5-figure estimates. Yep, 5 figures. That's 3 zeros, 1 comma, and then 2 more numbers in front of it. That's right. We are here today in a 2012 Toyota Camry. I believe this thing is equipped with the 3.5 liter V6 engine. That's the 2GRFE.
2JZ engine, no shh.
It's got 183,011 miles on the odometer. The customer states that it vibrates while accelerating, and they just left the dealership with a whopper of an estimate for repair. It's got a maintenance light on. That's usually just the engine oil change light when they say maintenance right there when they're in red. And then that one there, that is the tire pressure monitoring system warning indicator. That's letting us know, as the drivers who are responsible for our equipment, that our tires are low on pressure. Now, since that light is flashing, that indicates that there's a system problem, not just a low tire pressure problem. If it was a low tire pressure and the sensor picked up on it, it would be a solid amber color. Since it's flashing, there's a system error. So it's probably got dead batteries. We're not here to diagnose that. I'm just kind of letting you guys know. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this thing out on the ROAD, head up over the bridge on the nice, shiny, brand new asphalt, nice and smooth like, and we're gonna look for a vibration while accelerating. Then we're gonna bring it into the shop. We're gonna show you what's going on with it, and then we're gonna compare my estimate to the dealer's estimate and see how far off we really are, because I operate in real world financial levels and the dealerships operate in a everyone here owes me money kind of financial level. So let's see what we can do for this customer here. Let's first focus on the car, see what the car needs, and then we'll translate that into a scenario that suits the customer's expectation. So first things first, we're going to confirm this vibration, confirm what the dealership said, and then go from there. So stay tuned. This is going to be a very good video. Okay, 40 miles per hour, coming up on a turn here. Nice smooth stop, no vibe there. Now the reason I said that is a lot of times, and I'm not sure where the disconnect is in vernacular, but drivers have a hard time distinguishing vibrations between when they're accelerating, coasting, and braking. Those are all 3 different stress levels. Look at that, old Chevy truck. I think those were the SSR. Not many of those made. Anyway, there's vibe. Put you guys on the dash where you can hear it. This thing's vibrating something fierce, and then off the pedal, nothing. So while coasting, there's no vibration. While accelerating, we had vibration, and now we're gonna go to braking. On the brakes, pretty aggressively, and no vibration. Yeah, those are 3 different load modes you're gonna experience while driving. The vehicle's either coasting, going faster, or slowing down. So we have determined that this vibration occurs while accelerating. You know, I shouldn't have turned there. I wish I'd have kept straight. So there's the vibe. Let's put it in neutral. So now we've isolated the engine from transmission. I rev it up, no vibration. Okay, let's make our right, back and drive. I'm gonna blast through this yellow light, woohoo! Oh, I feel it now, even at slow speed. Yep, there's that vibe right there. So while the engine is putting torque load on the transmission, that's when we're feeling the vibration. So that tells me it's not tires, because tires would vibrate while coasting, accelerating, and decelerating. It's probably not the CV axles, because those would vibrate potentially under all conditions. Maybe not so much braking because they're idle, and maybe not so much coasting because they're idle. But if they were out of balance, they would vibrate, or if they were bent, they would vibrate while coasting, braking, and accelerating. So I'm leaning away from an axle. It's not too common to feel axle vibrations in just one mode of operation. So I am thinking that it is the torque converter causing that vibration. That's the for lack of a better term, hydraulic clutch between the transmission and the engine. And right now that torque converter is loaded because the engine is putting a load on it. Right now it is not. We're coasting, and in neutral it is not. Yeah, I think this thing needs a torque converter. That's the issue here. So with that heavy vibration that we have, I would expect to find some leaking oil from the engine's rear main seal, or perhaps from the torque converter, because that was a nasty vibe right there. Like, I was feeling it and seeing it in the mirror. If we can see it. Nah, I can't really see it, but I feel it, that's for sure. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna bring this thing back in, we're gonna put it on the big rack, we're gonna lift it up, we're gonna do a visual inspection underneath of it, look for oil leaks, because I'm pretty sure something's probably leaking. And then we'll see what it's gonna take to repair a torque converter on a 2012 Toyota Camry. An escape that was not there when we left. Someone guide me in, please. Right there is probably good. Shut her down. Powering down, complete. Let us pop into the hood, and we'll run this thing up in the air here and take a gander at what's going on. Let's see what we can see. Toyota 3.5 liter V6 2G RFE. No way. And I'll just hood struts. This right here is a headache waiting to happen. One of them has failed, one of them is okay, but one of them is not sufficient to hold this up. See how it's staying? Now the one that's leaking, that's gonna bleed down, and then all of a sudden, the hood's gonna fall. Not the greatest. Here, let's pop the top real quick. Can't really see much. Stay there. Okay, here's some oil. Let's turn down the intensity of the O light here. A bunch of oil right here. A bunch of it hanging out right here. So this is from the valve cover gasket, this oil here. That alternator's kind of shiny. It's been changed. Yeah, a bunch of oil down there. Some of it on the cooling pipe over here. So it's leaking probably most heavily in this corner here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's the worst of the valve cover leak. Okay. Now I believe there's that hood again. I believe my customer is aware of these, because like I said, they were at the dealership. I believe I have the dealership's estimate here somewhere. We're gonna review that in a moment. But let's confirm what the car is telling us first. Moving on up. All right, that'll do it. We'll set her down on the locks for safety. There we go. Hey, you know what? Let me show you guys something real quick before we take a look at that. I made something nice and shiny in competition orange yesterday. I still smell the paint. These are the valve covers for a GM 6.2 liter. That's the oil pan for a GM 6.2. I'm gonna do a build video on this thing later on. It's gonna be a beast, a massive horsepower beast. That's the block. We just got this block back from the machine shop the other day. I painted it last night before we left. Now I realized I could have put it all together then painted it, but I wanted to paint the parts individually, and then when I bolt them on, I'll paint them again. That way all the fasteners have nice fresh paint on them and you won't see tooling marks on the fasteners. This thing's been punched out 5/1000ths of an inch over, recross hatch. We did 5,000 on the cylinders just to clean them up. We checked them for taper, for bore alignment, all that good stuff. The heads have been rebuilt. We've done a valve job on the cylinder heads, decked them flat, and put in some high performance valve springs to match the camshaft that's going to go in there on this. We are going to be installing a Hellcat supercharger on this GM LS engine. That's going to be fun. Gonna make an entire build series on that motor later on. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Thank you for bearing with me on my side quest. Let's see here. There's some oil. Ah, here we go. Yeah, there's some oil. So right here we have our engine on this side of the exhaust. Right here on the right side, that's all transmission, and our torque converter is going to be housed right here inside of the bell housing. And we do have, looks like some, what color is that? Smells like engine oil. Yeah, we've got some oil leaking right there. Yeah, that's definitely oil. I mean, that might be transmission fluid, depending on what color it is. It could be worn out dark fluid, but it didn't smell like ATF. There's a run right here from something dripping down also. I don't know if you guys can see it. Get rid of the light. See it? Yeah, discolored run right there. I heard something about a timing cover. Yep, there's a timing cover leak right there. That's leaking oil. So the timing cover can get done in conjunction with the valve covers, because you have to take the valve covers off to do the timing cover anyway. Yeah, I conclude this vehicle needs a torque converter. While the transmission or engine is out, we'll do a torque converter seal and a rear crankshaft seal while we're there. I think I said while we're there twice. Looks pretty decent overall under here. It's not rusted out. Wait a minute here. Wait. Oh, heck no. That's not a timing cover leak. That is a CV axle leak. Look right here. You guys see that? There's grease here and here, and there's grease flung up against the side of the oil pan right there. So that means that all that up there is not oil from the timing cover. That is all grease from this boot, because it's all in one straight line. Look, that stuff's been flung up. Yep, right there on the firewall. Man, the dealership is dropping the ball here. Yeah, that's not a timing cover leak at all. That's a CV axle leak. Wow. Okay, so the repair to fix this is to replace the right front CV axle, remove transmission, replace torque converter and seals, install new fluid, send it on its way. That's what the car needs. So let's go do some estimating in the estimate maker. Real quick side quest, we've got another car. It's a Ford of some sort. This is another failure from a different service place. I guess what's going on with this is that they were at another shop. The AC had, copyright. The AC had gone out on this. The guy went to another shop to have it diagged, and they were checking it out. They removed all the refrigerant from it, and then they had the thing all day and told the guy that their machine is not installing the refrigerant. So they took it to one of their other locations, the other shop did, and they figured out that that machine wasn't working and they couldn't install a charge on it. So now it's here. So let me see if I can get this thing to charge or something. I'm not sure. Maybe we're gonna find it's not capable of taking a charge. Let's figure out what's up. So hey, sorry to switch topics here. This is a day in the life. That's how we do it. Power this down. And the hood times 2. We got 2 poppings of the hoods. It's twice as many as on a normal day. But let's figure out what we're doing here. This is some kind of Ford, obviously. An Escape, maybe? Escape? Yeah, there we go. I don't know what we're working with. A 1.5 liter or a 2.5 liter? I believe that's gonna be a 1.5. It's a tiny engine. Okay. Well, let's bust out the machine and hook it up. Okay, so it looks like this vehicle is equipped with the new R1234YF refrigerant. This stuff is remarkably expensive. So much more expensive than the R134A. We've got the machine hooked up to it. It appears that the system is in fact discharged. There's no pressure on either side. So you have to start over here. We're gonna vacuum this whole system down and then attempt to recharge it and see if it performs. While this thing's doing its job, let's go over the work order estimate from that Toyota. Let's see what we're gonna do about that. We're gonna sit inside of this Ford and do it. Okie doke, so Toyota, the Toyota dealership that worked on that car, they provided a phenomenal vehicle health report packet here. See a lot of numbers in there. I've redacted some personal information so as to not dox anybody. I'm not interested in doxing technicians or dealerships. That's not really what the point is. But we're going to start with page 2. Page 1 is the cover letter here. Page 2 comes up with a vehicle inspection report. They pretty much pencil whipped this right down the line, checked it all green. Under hood, battery terminals, drive belts, cabin filters, everything's green on this. All the warning lights that were on, they marked those green. They marked engine oil level, they didn't mark that yellow. There's a leak that should have been yellow. The wiper blades, I guarantee it needs some. Brake fluid's not great. Transmission fluid's leaking and it's dark in color. Yeah, they just pencil whipped this entire inspection right here. Cooling system, I guess they wanted to do a cooling system flush on it, sure. Drive axles and wheel bearings, we'll take a look at their estimate in a second here. Inspect transmission. Yeah, brake linings, 6 millimeters, 6 millimeters, 6 millimeters, 6 millimeters. They marked them all in yellow. Those are underreported. Here's the picture. Tire treads, 6/32. Yeah, they marked those as yellow too, sure. I guess that's fine. Yeah, so I'm not really validating this inspection. To my technician eye, this does not look like it was actually gone through item by item. It just looks like they just checked all the boxes and then highlighted the pertinent parts to match up with their findings. And we have some findings over here. We're going to go through this. Perform multi-point inspection. Following services were recommended. They want to do a wheel alignment on it. Manufacturer alignment under warranty. Okay, sure. I don't know. An oil change, tire rotation, inspections. These are all $0. Inspections. So $132 for an oil change and a warranty alignment. We want to replace, let's see, multiple lug nuts are rounded out or expanded. They want to charge $786 for 20 lug nuts. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. $700. See, somebody sat there and was like, you know what? I'm going to charge this guy $786 to bolt his wheels back on. Okay. We're asking immediate attention for a brake fluid system flush for $229. That's interesting because if we go over here, the brake fluid says it's fine. Yeah, where is that? Brake fluid. I lost it. There it is, brake fluid right there. That's in green, so the brake fluid's fine, but the estimate says we want to replace the brake fluid for $229. 60 bucks, shop supplies. So they're charging shop supplies. Interesting. 60 bucks in parts, 0.8 hours. There's some tax, some miscellaneous. What is miscellaneous? Shop supplies. Okay. Moving on. We want to charge $839 for a set of spark plugs. There's the spark plugs, 6 of them, quantity total, $22 a piece. That's not really that far out of line. With a gasket for $37 and 3.3 hours for a set of spark plugs. Sure. I think the rate's a little high on that, but whatever. Gasket, 3 gaskets, $37 each. Nope, that's out of line. I'm sorry, you can get the whole gasket set for 37 bucks from Molly or Felpro. So that's out of line. We want to replace the right front CV axle. $1,347. It's $492 for the axle. More shop supplies, another $45 in shop supplies for just the axle. 3.5 hours labor, $1,347. That's not fair. Let's change the rear main seal. Automatic transmission, replace rear main seal, oil seal. AT includes R&R transmission and torque converter pump seal. $3,615. That's okay. There's the seal. They don't have an actual torque converter on here. There should be an actual torque converter, not just the seal. So we're missing parts, so we charged more shop supplies. Didn't put the part in. It needs a torque converter. We just figured that out. And all they have on here for parts is a seal for $144. I looked up that seal from Felpro and Molly, and it was like 42 bucks or whatever. So we're a little out of line on that. Plus there's more shop supplies. Timing cover that it doesn't need, $5,701.74. Found above the oil pan. Appears timing cover could have been leaking before axle boot started leaking grease. So they did catch the grease flung from the axle onto the timing cover. They did catch that. What do we want to change here? We want to change one seal, gasket, cylinder gasket. I don't know about those. Spark plug gaskets, sure. A washer seal, oil strainer gasket, camshaft gasket, another gasket, an air surge gasket. That was on the other line item. There's an O-ring, a couple more gaskets that we don't know what they're for, another O-ring, oil pump gasket. So they went through all this and didn't even have timing components on there. They added all these parts, but didn't want to bother with the timing chain while it's all apart. That's interesting. For 19.5 hours, that's not accurate at all, because I looked it up and it was like 10.2, I think. So we charged twice as much for the labor, and we charged shop supplies again on that next item. That's always nice. They're making like $500 in shop supplies on this car. Moving on, the coolant flush, $323 for 1 gallon of coolant, 2 bottles of coolant treatment for $45. Oh, and another bottle of coolant. And another shop supply fee for 35 bucks. That puts coolant service at $323. No wonder people keep coming to my shop. And of course, $353 to replace the belt for 1 hour labor at $199. But the belt comes off to do all those other jobs anyway. So we stacked up labor again and more shop supplies again on an item as small as a single belt. Okay, well, that's the last page. I guess that's the not done from the estimate page, but it's very clearly written here. We're charging $13,031.37 to perform this laundry list of stuff that it needs. And what we've just seen on that list is we are double charging multiple times on the same items. There's like 5 or 6 different shop supply fees. We're double stacking labor. And the reality is we're working on a $5,000 car at best. So that means in someone's mind, they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go to this customer who brought us this car for an oil change, and we're going to tell them they need $13,000 worth of repairs on that car. That's insane. Somebody clearly wasn't thinking. And there's multiple tiers of people not thinking. The dealership's policy wasn't thinking. The people working there wasn't thinking. The service manager wasn't thinking. The technician wasn't thinking. The communication people weren't thinking. And then somebody thought that it was a good idea to go to a customer on the quick lane and say, hey, sir, I need 13 grand. Can I have some money? Like, this is the problem with the industry right here, is that thought process does not work in reality. Okay, time to compare and contrast some guesstimations here. I got my estimate. What we don't have, I've got some diag time on here. I built them a half an hour for checking it all out and confirming the vibration and diagnosing such things. Determined that we needed to replace the torque converter. I've got on here torque converter seal and the rear main seal while it's apart. I've got 14 hours at 164. That's my rate. There's my parts. Under $3,000 to replace the torque converter and fix the condition that is rendering this vehicle destroyed. I did make him an estimate for that timing cover leak just to compare and contrast, even though we have decided that we do not need to spend $2,700 on an axle that's leaking, that's not leaking engine oil. And even if it is leaking oil, that leak is not worth $2,700 at 16 hours labor plus the gasket set. So looking over at Toyota's estimate, we do not need all the lug nuts. There's one water in there, babe. We don't need all the lug nuts. Spark plugs, yeah, we don't need to charge 3 hours for that, because if we were doing the timing cover I can just add the price of the plugs to that because there's no labor to pull those plugs in and out while you're doing a timing cover or a valve cover service, because you've already done all the labor to get down to the covers. Consequently, you've also done all the labor to get down to the spark plugs, so we don't need to add 3 hours plus another $45 shop charge just for those spark plugs, okay? Now we've got the axle on here. I do not have a CV axle on this estimate because that's just price of parts that are going to add in with the torque converter job. So we don't need to charge an additional 3.5 hours labor to do the axle for $492. I mean, that's a little pricey as well, but that's a Toyota axle. But we've got another case of our labor overlap problem going on right here. Next page, rear main seal. Yep, this is their version of this job right here. They do not have a torque converter on it, and they also do not have the rear main seal. Now, here's your automatic transmission oil seal. They want $144 for the part. We go over here to my estimate, and I've got torque converter seal transmission right here. $35 is what I'm charging for that. That's with my markup. I buy these things at wholesale pricing. That's aftermarket. It's a Felpro, I think. But $35 sale price versus $144 sale price. So either I'm not charging enough money or other people are ripping people off. Let me know. What do you guys think? Am I charging not enough, or are people getting ripped off? Now, when it comes to this one on the timing cover, we've got a lot of parts here. I didn't even realize that this car had these many parts. But if some of these parts are in fact the valve cover gaskets and there are components inside that need to be replaced, I can add these parts on. It's a couple $100 in fee in parts fees. I cross these bridges when I get the car apart, and then I go inside and see what we actually need, because my valve cover gasket set for $57 probably includes the majority of some of these components in here. Now, they're not individually bagged from Toyota. They're going to be bagged as a kit and then sold aftermarket. But for the price difference, we can see it may not be to your advantage to buy all the dealership individually wrapped components. That's just how it is. Let's see, coolant flush, I didn't have that on there. We can add some coolant to it after it goes back together if we do that. And the belt, obviously we touched base on this. We don't need to charge an hour labor for the belt. So my estimate, doing all of this, and the strategy would probably be to just pull the engine out, change the torque converter and the seals and the timing cover while the engine's out, because then I don't have to charge 16 hours to do a timing cover. I can charge the R&R engine, which is around 14, 15, 16, and then add 2 or 3 hours to do the cover once the engine is out. So I can take this total estimate of like 30 hours and probably knock that down to like 20 if you do it all at once and combine it all together. And again, that also applies to this oil change. We've got labor on the oil change, but we don't need that on there, because if we have the timing cover off of it, then it's getting new oil anyway. So I think that what happened here is the folks that worked at the facility that gave that guy a $13,000 estimate, I don't think that they thought. It clearly didn't occur to them that we have to have a conversation with our customer, come up with a tactic, figure out what's important, what's not important, and then we tailor the service to the needs of the customer. That's what customer service is. We're not in business just to fix the cars. We're in business to service our customers. So with that being said, let's hop out and go check on this AC machine next. Okay, the machine is in a vacuum. It's been holding, it's gone through its countdown thing. We're gonna install 0.625 kilograms of refrigerant. Now, the last two shops said that their machines would not charge this. What the machine has to do is vacuum it down again, because this is now the charge procedure. So it's got to put it in a vacuum, even though it's already in a vacuum. Then it's going to hold it. It's going to give the machine, or give the vehicle, a partial charge, and then hold. Then recover the partial charge, weigh the charge, verify that what it just took out is what it just put in. And then once it determines that it doesn't have a leak, the car doesn't have a leak, then the machine will authorize the refrigerant to be fully installed in the vehicle, which is so annoying to me because the protocol for this machine, the 1234 machine, takes about 4 times as long as the 1234 machine, or the 134A machine, the older style machine. And on top of it, the refrigerant is remarkably expensive. These are about $900. I just bought this keg last week or last month, used it on one car, and then found out it's empty. I just lost $1,000 because somewhere, I think right here, this keg has been leaking. So now I've got a whole nother keg over here in case I need it. Another $1,000 because I just lost $1,000. So the irony is, since the 1234 is a smaller molecular design, it's more prone to leaking while in storage. And I've found that these tanks are similar to like a fire extinguisher. You know, you can use a fire extinguisher once, and then if you don't use the entire charge, it'll slowly leak down after you break the seal. Well, these things seem to do the same thing. Once you open this valve to let some refrigerant into the system, that valve is going to always leak. And I believe that this, let me show you, it's closed. Let's close it up. I do not believe that this particular fitting is sufficient to hold this refrigerant in the system because it relies just on one little O-ring in there. And I think that once this is opened up, you've now started the clock for your $1,000 keg of refrigerant to leak out. Yeah, I think it's leaking out right here. Because we charged this machine with the contents of that tank, left it sitting there like we're supposed to, came back to it today and found the tank, this tank empty and this tank empty. And the only common denominator between those two tanks is that fitting right there. So I'm super salty today because I lost $1,000 for no reason. Anyway, 2 more minutes left on that countdown. I'll be right back. I'll let you know if this thing's gonna charge or not. Yeah, we're on phase 1 leak check, still under vacuum. Just hanging out, waiting around. Okay, it's thinking about it. We've installed our partial charge. It's proved out that there's no leaks, and we're taking it. It's at 0.5 kilograms, and our spec's gonna be 0.625. So it was pretty close. We are taking a charge. Let's let it finish up, and then we'll fire the car up and see if it's actually gonna cool or not. So I don't know nothing about what the symptoms were. I just know that that's not the right number. 5.8. Yeah, it's gonna slowly add it. Yeah, so we're picking up on somebody else's diag, and they seem to have tripped at the finish line, and that's kind of where I'm picking up the torch, so to speak. 0.616, we're pretty close, and it's going through high side. I'm gonna go ahead and jump the gun and fire this up. Beginning engine starting sequence now. We're on high, AC on. No snapshot. Hose compensate. It's going to add a little bit more refrigerant to compensate for what's inside of the lines. A little low here. Or I'm sorry, a little high on the low side. I want to see like 30 PSI down here. Are my fans running? Yes, they are. Yeah, high side's a little low and low side's a little high. Let's check the thermal output here. It feels cold. Okay, thermal meter going in. Center vent, and we want our temperature. We're 81 and falling. Set to full cold. Recirculation. Let's get our windows up real quick. Pressures are about the same. 77. All right, I'm gonna check back in on this in a couple of minutes and see where center vent temp lands. Oh, back window's up too. Okay, we're just under 200 here. And we drop down to about 46 on our low side. That's okay-ish. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect. There's a tight squeeze in there. When I touch that, it's hot. There we go. Let's get our caps back on. There we go. $73. Let's take it for a ride real quick. Okay, since we started moving and got back out in the lot, we're down to 57, 58 degrees. So we're getting somewhere here. I think the system's okay. It may have an expansion valve issue. Yeah, it's still falling now. This is what we want. I turned the blower speed down to 3 off of 4, giving the thermometer a little bit more time to be exposed to the airflow stream. I've often found that if we turn it up, then the vent temps are not as cool as they would like to be because the air is passing over the evaporator core faster and it's passing over the thermometers faster, not giving the core enough time to remove heat from the air that's going over it, and then not giving the thermometer enough time to actually register the lack of heat in the discharge air. Hope that made sense. I took something very easy to say and I made it difficult. We'll pull up front of this bus right here. 54. Yeah, we're getting better. 53. Yeah, I think this thing is good to go. I'm going to send it back to him the way it is. No need for parts unless we have some symptoms that occur later on or leaks or whatever. I think we're fine for now. So I'm going to release this one back to the customer with just a recharge, and that will conclude this particular vehicle's inspection and repair for the day. Probably going to end up concluding the video as well. That Toyota has left. I talked to the customer, pretty much told him everything I told you guys. We went through it. We're going to come up with a strategy to repair that Toyota. The first thing is going to be obviously the torque converter, because that vibration is going to destroy the drivetrain, and we will do the axles while it's out. And what I'm going to do is, although that timing cover leak is minimal, I think the strategy is to utilize all the transmission remove labor and just pull the engine out of it, and then add some extra on to do the timing cover job. I think that would be the easiest and most cost-effective way to repair that. It's kind of like if you do it all, it's way easier and more cost-effective for your dollar than doing it one thing at a time. And we learned that from the dealership's work order, because if you do them one at a time, they charge you $45 shop supply fee every time. Every time. We got $300 in shop supply fees, and that's just not fair. So I'm going to approach this with my customer as a holistic repair. We're going to find the budget. We're going to figure out what's most important to them, and then we're going to build the best repair possible based off the budget for the primary repair. So that being said, you guys, I'll let you know if we do any work on that Toyota in the future. We're probably pulling the transmission out of it. That's a vehicle for another date. This one is all done, and consequently so is this video. So that being said, as always, I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video. I know it was a little bouncing around and we covered a lot of stuff, but I appreciate you guys following along and being here till the end. Since you are here to the end, I'm going to assume you like this video. If that's correct, I'm going to remind you at this time to engage that like button down near the comment section. I forgot what I was talking about. And I looked over there. And most importantly, you guys, have yourselves a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. See you later. Much appreciated. Catch you guys in the next one. In a video, in a day, in a transmission. Haha, 49.5. I'll take that. Powering down.